Hey, what's happening out there? This is Halftime Prep Talk. We're here at Coach Tom Scott Field at Boyd County High School. And once again, you can watch us on dailyindependent.com, YouTube, or the Daily Independent's Facebook
Whoa!
page. I'm wearing my throwback jersey today, The Independent. We're now known as the Daily Independent. I am the Daily Independent sports editor, Aaron Snyder. This is the Daily Independent sports writer, Zach Clemmy, and the Daily Independent sports writer, Matthew Sparks. On the subject of throwback jerseys, check out the Chick-fil-A ticker, okay? That's a different subject. I threw you a curveball there. Check it out right now. You need to see the scores from last week and see what game you're going to check out this week. On the subject of throwback jerseys, guys, what's your favorite? Any sport, you can pick any sport, throwback jersey and favorite throwback logo. Zach.
Well, I don't know about favorite. I don't know why everybody has to rank everything and have a favorite everything. But I did see one that I liked when you said about 20 minutes ago, be prepared to talk about a throwback jersey. So I looked something up that I thought was really good. UK wore kind of a throwback jersey in 2004 with the helmet with the outline of the state of Kentucky and the Wildcat head inside it. That was pretty cool. The not so cool thing about it was that the only game they wore those for was the Ohio game in 2004, and we all know how that ended.
Oh.
So they maybe shouldn't wear those again. But it was a pretty neat design, neat logo. I'd like to see them incorporate it in some fashion. Just probably shouldn't wear it in games they're supposed to win.
Okay.
So.
Well, I mean, Matt, do you have a favorite throwback logo or jersey?
Well, you know, my favorite sports team was the Celtics, of course.
Of course.
But they don't have a throwback jersey because
it's
they've had
still
the
the
same jersey for almost 100 years. But I think I'm going to probably go football. Those powder blue jerseys the Chargers wear. Oh, I've always loved those. You know, I think they play great in those jerseys too.
That's when they had LT, though.
Well, that's true. But I think the worst of all time has to be the old Steelers jerseys they wear with like they wear a bunch of bees.
Bumblebee jerseys.
Like they broke out of a 1930s jail. I think those are the worst of all time.
Now, those rank right there with the Astros rainbow jerseys,
Well,
don't they?
yes.
Those are pretty
They
bad.
look like a popsicle.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or it looked like whoever designed them was on LSD probably. It was the 70s.
it was the 70s.
Yeah.
Or on Quaaludes or something.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
When it comes to powder blues, though, I like the Kansas City Royals powder blue jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Those are nice.
I like those, yes.
I like when they break those out. Every
Yeah.
so often, they'll still break those out, I think.
The Brewers, too, they kind of incorporated their old jerseys every Sunday, which still look nice.
I'm glad you brought that up because did you know, this is one of those that play with your eyes a little bit, that the glove on the cap of the Brewers jersey, or Brewers hat, back in the day, it looked like a glove. It was actually an M and a B with a baseball in the middle. Check
Makes
it out.
sense.
Check it out.
Wow.
And I really like the smiling Oriole, the real happy, giddy Baltimore Oriole. They brought it back.
I don't care for it, but that's.
I love it.
It's too happy for my taste.
Of course. Here on Friday night, Round County's coming in for an important district game against Boyd County. Jake Hughes' jersey is going to be retired, number 13. Jake Hughes holds like 17 records here at Boyd County. He had a really good career in the early 2000s. So, hey, if you're not going anywhere else, come out here. Boyd County coach John Gillum and seniors Taylor Campbell and Tanner Edmonds are going to join us here in just a bit. Guys, before we get back to football, some district soccer coming up. I wanted to mention that. The 63rd district will be hosted by Russell, and the 62nd is going to be hosted by East Carter. Most of that's going to be like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. The 62nd is actually a 5-team district, so that'll be over the course of 3 or 4 days. So I'm not going to ask any predictions on that, but I am just going to say keep an eye on the Daily Independent for coverage of those games right there, because some of those will be some good games, I think. All right, let's go with game balls. Matt fumbled the ball away. I'm blaming it on you.
Oh, really?
I'm putting it on you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
In the rain on Friday night, he fumbled it away. Luckily for West Carter's Braden Brown, who I'm going to pick, played on Thursday night, and he didn't really have to deal with too much rain. But Bath County still had to deal with him. 217 rushing yards, 158 passing yards, and 5 touchdowns for Braden Brown, my game ball recipient. Matt?
Well, I'm going to go to Fleming County. Zach Alexander had the pivotal play, I thought, in the rain. My sinuses, really took a toll on my sinuses during that game, but had a interception in the third quarter, took it back 91 yards for the touchdown, gave Fleming County the lead that they never lost. Broke a 14-game losing streak to Russell. Fleming County, just a big win for them. Coach Bill Spencer said that he has really stepped up at the sophomore. The team lost 20 seniors from a year ago. And Zach also had a 33-yard touchdown pass, too. So he had been on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to give my game ball to him.
And we should have mentioned the sinus infection. You're playing through sickness here.
I'm playing hurt today. Hurt today.
Zach Alexander. From one Zach to the next, Zach Fleming.
Good one. We'll go with Ashland's Noah Roberts. Had a big game, huge game here the other night against Boyd County. The conditions weren't good, struggling to hang on to the ball. Ashland actually put the ball on the ground 10 times, including two-point conversions. Had some trouble with the center quarterback exchanging the weather and all that sort of thing. So it was a good night for somebody with a little bit of kind of power. Speed was negated a little bit because of field conditions and the rain. And Roberts, that's what he does. Ran for the go-ahead touchdown with 33 seconds to go in the first half and put Ashland ahead for good. Ran for 2 touchdowns and 143 yards, career high there. And Ashland really needed somebody other than Quentin Baker to step up their game in addition to Baker on Friday night, and they got that from Roberts, and it kind of helped them pull away a little bit, get a little bit of separation from Boyd, which played a pretty good game probably in those conditions, but Ashland had a little bit too much for them.
All right, let's see if any of those 3 teams crack into our top 3 games of the week. First, West Carter and Fleming County. So Braden Brown and Zach Alexander made it, didn't they? This will be in Flemingsburg, and very important district matchup, isn't it? Class 3A District 5. Talk about the importance of this one, Zach.
Well, this is for a tie for first place in the district, probably. Bath County is right there and has played well as well. Russell has a loss there to Fleming County, and West has a loss to Russell. So it's kind of a mess, and if West Carter is able to win this game, that puts them in good position. Bath has had a good year as well. So this could be one of those crazy districts that comes down to some tiebreakers, and you might not have thought that coming into the season, but some teams have played better than expected, and Fleming just went to Russell and took care of business last week, and Russell was in the driver's seat after it beat West, but kind of fumbled that away a little bit. So I like West to go on the road and get it done. I think they're a little bit more complete. I'm not sure that Fleming has an answer for Braden Brown and some of the speed that West Carter has, but that could be another one of these games, like a lot of games of this district, that have come down to the last play or to late in the game.
The Panthers pranced out of Olive Hill with a 22-21 OT victory last year.
Pranced? Okay, pranced. Well, since Fleming won last week, I think this game takes on a whole different meaning because, look, if Fleming wins this game, they pretty much have a 2-game lead over with tie breaks and everything. So I talked to Bill Spencer after that game against Russell. He said he was just so impressed by the way the physical play, way his team played against Russell, and I think they're going to need that physicality against West Carter, given the athletes they got. The question here is how you ride that emotion into next week. Do they have a letdown because of that emotional win, or can you ride that emotion? Because Fleming's got a bunch of young kids, a bunch of sophomores, but I think they're going to ride that emotion at home, and I think Fleming County's going to do it.
Wow. Okay, West Carter Comets are gunning for their first ever home playoff game. If they're going to get that, they're going to have to get it done on the road on Friday night in Fleming County. I think they do it. I think it will be a close game. Maybe just decided by a touchdown. Touchdown to 12 points, somewhere around there. But I think the Comets pull it out and maintain the driver's seat position in the district, or I guess regain the driver's seat position in the district because they do have a loss to Russell. So that'll create a little bit of convolution there. So, all right, coming up also on Friday night, Paintsville at Fairview. The team sloshed around in the mud last year, and they could be sloshing around some mud this year. Last year was at Paintsville, and the Tigers came away 36-28 victors, Matt. What do you see this Friday?
This could be one of the barest games in Westwood history. There's been a lot of good games there, but I think as far as hype and everything, I think number one, coming to Westwood, I think the key here is Fairview's defense. I think when you look at Paintsville's offense, you can't just concentrate on Cass Daniel because they have a lot of other weapons. Ken Phelps, he's closing on 1,000 yards rushing this season. Luke Trimble, he's been coming on, and you got Darren Morris in the passing game too. So I think with Fairview, I think the key to them is rushing the football. I think if they rush the football effectively, keep Paintsville's offense on the sideline, I think they're going to keep it close. It was close last year. Fairview had 2 100-yard rushing rushers in that game. A couple pick sixes from Paintsville will kind of put that out of reach. But I think you got to find ways to get the ball to Antoine Washington. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, a close game. I think Paintsville's going to pull it out.
Washington had a couple uncharacteristic drops. Granted, it was raining against Colgrove. I think he'll be determined to come back out there and have a good performance again in a big game. And they do show up well in Westwood. They've had some big wins there this year. They beat LCA there. They beat Hazard there. But Fairview mentioned the run game. The Eagles struggled really mightily against Colgrove getting the run game going.
And you know that's going to be something that Paintsville is going to emphasize on both sides of the ball, running the ball and stopping the run. Fairview can throw the ball with anybody in this area or maybe in the state, but we saw what Paintsville did. We talked about that a couple weeks ago about the challenge they had against Bourbon, stopping their passing game, and how that would kind of lead into this game, and a good preparation for them, and they bode fairly well in that game. Were able to beat Bourbon comfortably. Paintsville's defense is pretty good, and Paintsville's going to be able to move the ball when it has to, so I like Paintsville to come on the road and get that first big one in that district.
You look at Fairview, though, I'm going to pick Paintsville as well. I think they're going to stay number one and stay undefeated. But you look at Fairview there, and you look at guys like, Alex Roy, and like Antron Washington, and maybe like somebody else, like a Dylan Romine or something, that might play at the next level, at some level, at the next level. Wouldn't it be huge for them if they came out and had a big offensive performance against a guy like Cash Daniel, the highly touted recruit that's going to Kentucky?
Well, I think one player you look at for Fairview, Jonathan Ruggles. I think the running back, I think he has the talent to put up some big rushing numbers. And I think, trying to take a little bit more pressure off Alex Roy. He had a really great passing game against LCA 2 weeks ago, but you can't really depend on that every single week from him. So, they need more balanced effort this week.
And right here, Rowan County at Boyd County. Went down to the wire last year. The Vikings won 25-20. Tanner Edmonds, who we'll talk to in just a little bit, had a big defensive play there to seal it. Last week, look at Rowan County. They were stymied by Greenup County's defense. They only had 37 yards on 38 rushes. So that's going to be a key for Boyd County. How well can they stop the three-headed monster that's kind of coalesced there in Moorhead with Devin Helvey, Blake Carver, and Jeffrey Masters?
Boyd's rushing defense has been pretty good at times this year. It's had good defensive line effort, and like you said, came down to the last possession last year against Rowan County. They made the defensive play when they had to. I think Rowan has a little bit more diversified offense than Boyd does. That gives the Boyd defense a little bit more to think about. But I like Boyd to make it a play there at the end. And another thing, and we can't predict this or get into this or let this affect it too much, but it's going to rain Friday, probably, if you can believe the meteorologists. So that changes the game. Boyd, I think, has a little bit more speed than Rowan does, so that works in Rowan's favor if it does in fact do that. But right now, all things considered, I like Boyd to make a play at the end and get it done. It'll be down to the wire again. It should be, at least.
But you look at the first half of what happened out here at Coach Tom Scott Field last week against Ashland, and it was just 12-6 at halftime, wasn't it?
Right.
So the Lions were right there with the Tomcats as long as it was raining, and once the rain kind of dissipated, they kind of faded.
Difference being again that Ashland has more talent than Boyd did, and so it worked in Boyd's favor, like Coach Gillum talked about. He would have been fine if it rained sideways the whole time. It kind of that negates some of the speed because Ashland had more speed than Boyd does, but whereas Boyd may have more speed than Rowan does, it works in favor of the kind of the plodding ground game, which is kind of what they have, which works well. So that will play into it a little bit.
All right. Where you going?
Well, I think rain's a huge factor too. I don't know if we have as much rain as we did last Friday. I mean, that's to be debatable. Yeah. These teams are so even. I mean, both of them love to run the football, and this game really could be the winner have a playoff spot. The loser will have a lot more work to do. The loser of this game will have a lot more work to do going forward. But I'm with Zach. I think Boyd County can make some plays late in the game. Plays with Tanner Edmonds and Christian Brawley with his legs in the rushing game. I'm going to give Boyd County a slight edge.
All right. Well, we were actually literally flipping coins in the office trying to pick this game the other day. Okay. Does anybody have a coin? I might need one. Okay, I didn't bring one either. I'll just go with Boyd County and go with you guys. We'll go 3 for 3 on Boyd County. Call it a hunch, call it whatever you will, but I think the Lions will pull it out in a close one. John Gillum and Tanner Edmonds and Taylor Campbell, better known as TC. We'll get into that coming up. All right, John Gillum joins us now, Boyd County head coach, coming off a 26-6 loss to Ashland, but you guys played pretty well, didn't you?
Well, we did. We played really well, and I couldn't get the weather to agree with me to rain the rest of the game. When it stopped raining, they got their footing a little bit, but joking around there a little bit. But our kids came out and played extremely well. Had some ball control issues on both sides. We held on to it a little bit better than they did, but they're a really good club and got some great players, and our kids rose up to the challenge there a little bit, and being 12-6, I believe it was, at halftime, and offensively we just we've got to learn to put some more points on the board.
Coach, no offense, but I believe you lost the title of Best Dressed Coach on HTPT. We caught you off guard, though, being on fall break this week and right after practice. Joe Cecil, earlier this year, he came out in a tie, so it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, if it comes down to having to wear a tie for that, I'll pass that award along. I usually do the sport coat thing, but the tie I usually go without.
Coach, what about fall break? How does that affect practice? How does that affect the kids' mentality? Is it different?
Well, it is probably, to be honest with you, it is more so for our younger kids. And you got the issue of mom and dad both working, and they've got to try to find a way to get here because we've done it in the past when we've either during camp or whatever the case may be, where we either go practice late in the evenings, thinking, well, okay, mom and dad will get home and they can get them here, or we go in the mornings, and we have found that we're better off just going ahead and going in the mornings. Now Monday we went in the afternoons because we had a JV game at Ashland, so we just tied those two together. But Tuesday and Wednesday, and then tomorrow, Thursday, we'll be out at 9 in the morning.
Has some good weather this week, but once again, this Friday it looks like 80% chance of rain. Of course, we recorded this on Wednesday. By Friday night, it looks like 80% chance of rain here at the field. Once again, can it take any more rain?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, our field drains extremely well. It's probably a little rougher than it has been in the past, just because of the rain game we had with Ashland, and it got chewed up a little bit. But for the most part, it's in pretty good shape. Probably going to affect us more than it does Round County. I think they're predominantly a heavy run team, and we're going to throw it a little bit more traditionally. Now we have ran the ball quite a bit more this year than we have in the past, but I think Round's thrown it 4 or 5 times this year.
Yeah, and their quarterback Devin Helvey runs the ball well. Blake Carver's leading them in rushing with about 700 yards. But Greenup County found an answer against them last week. They were able to hold them to 37 yards, but that's a tough offense to stop, isn't it?
It is, and they're big up front, real big up front, and they just a lot of, I don't want to say just power football, because they do have some good skilled athletes. The quarterback is extremely good athlete. The big thing is it's interesting where my son played there. And I watched these kids grow up, and my son and I was at my youngest son's little JFL game, and Helvey and some of those guys was holding the chain. So I got a little peek view of them without shoulder pads on, but they're good looking athletes, and they move the ball well, and that daggone the run game for them. It's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah. I asked Taylor Campbell about this as well, but at the beginning of the season, you just wanted out of your team, complete effort and competitive fire to the last second.
Oh, yeah.
Have they done that?
Well, as a coach, you always say no because you want to see more. But I'm pleased with what we've done. Really the only game that really got away from us is Johnson Central, and they're just so much bigger than we are, and just powered us out of the way. But all of our games have been close. The Russell game eventually got out of hand on us, but and they did an outstanding job against our offense. But from an effort standpoint and hustle and get after it, I'm pleased with what they're doing. But obviously, as a coach, you want to see more, and you can always find somebody that didn't do exactly what you wanted when you wanted it in just about every play, and I think there's a fine line there between being unrealistic as a coach and being a guy that hey, this is what can help you get better as a personal athlete, and that's some of the stuff I approach now with some of these guys is yeah, that was great, but here, if you do this just a little bit different, this is how much better it'll be for you. And I think they've been very receptive to that.
You guys have 8 seniors on the roster. You know, in your experience, I know it's limited as far as high school goes. You know, you have extensive background in college. But in your experience, is there a good number to kind of have as far as the senior class goes? I mean, is 8 kind of low, or I mean,
more than what we got. That's for sure. You know, you go and you play Ashland and talking to Tony Love before the game, and he's got 20.
Yeah.
You know, when you got that kind of discrepancy between 20 and 8, that's probably not good. But you know, I think at a high school level, anytime you get up around that 12 to 15 range, you know, and especially if you've got 20 that are all playing, you're really going to take a hit. If you got 12 to 15 and you got, you know, anywhere from all of those or at least 3/4 of them that's playing a lot, then you probably got a good junior class rotating in and that kind of stuff. So I would say somewhere in there between that 12 and 15 mark. And again, it's all relative to where you're at. You go up northern Kentucky and if they don't have 30, then they're going to have a bad year. And I think all that's relevant to also the number of kids you have on your squad. And we're sitting there right there at 50.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'd like to see that number up there around 12 to 15. We got a nice junior class coming back, so we'll be in good shape there. And it's kind of, from what a little bit you know, the last 3 years I've been here and what I've noticed, it seems like about every other class you've got good numbers, and then in between classes are low numbers. And I don't know if that's just at Boyd or if that's, you know, at some of these other schools as well. But you know, we're sitting there, you know, just about every. Last year we took a big hit. If I remember correctly, we had somewhere around 15 seniors. So then we go back to 8, and then next year we're going to have about that same number. Then we go back down low, and then my freshman class, you know, I've got pretty good.
Like the stock market.
Yeah, exactly, up and down, up and down. That's right. That's right.
You guys have played both Ashland and Johnson Central, and for several weeks now they've sustained the 2 and 3 spots there in Class 4A. Can either of those teams win the state title?
You're trying to get me in the hot seat, aren't you? I don't know if I'm going to bite on that. I think, let me do the politically correct thing and say that both of them could get. Now, again, I think you've got 2 different types of programs. You got Johnson Central that's just very big. I don't think they have anybody that's got any kind of speed that Ashland's got, but I think Ashland's the flip side of that. You know, they've got some decent size, but when you start comparing them from size-wise, position for position, they're nowhere near the size of Johnson Central, but they don't, you know, but Ashland has that speed. So it'll be an interesting game between those two. Probably end up playing twice, I wouldn't doubt, you know, during the regular season and then the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it, you know, from what I see, it's going to be a very good game, very good matchup.
Finally, what I want to ask about your team is, you know, you have Tanner Edmonds and Christian Brawley on offense combining for about 1,300 yards total yards of offense. Would you like to see maybe that 1 or 2 more guys just to kind of come up to that level, or at least close to it? I know you've seen some flashes from guys.
And you would anytime you've got that. But you know, I actually had one of my assistants talk about that, and my response was simply go figure up the 2 rushers for Ashland.
Yeah.
And at the high school level, you know, it's very seldom if you've got 3 or 4 kids that are huge playmakers and everything. I'll say this: if you've got 3 or 4 high school kids that are playmakers and you don't win the state, there might be something wrong with the coaching part of it. Most schools are going to have 1 or 2 featured backs.
Sure.
If it ends up being a quarterback or a running back or 2 running backs or a running back and a receiver, it's just according to what they're doing. Now, would we love to spread it out? Sure you would. But on the flip side of that, as a coach, you think if you take 10 touches away from both of them and give them to somebody else and you come up short, would you kind of second guess yourself, would you wish you'd have gave those touches back to the guys that had been made?
Sure.
You know, and we talk about that to some of our kids. You know, it's, you know, and in practice, we rep it. We rep it a lot, giving them the touches and stuff, getting them the ball and that kind of stuff from the receiver standpoint or some of our other running backs. You know, just in case you get to that situation where you want to try to spread it around. But you know, I'm not telling Round County or anybody else that plays us. Those two guys are going to get the ball because they're making the plays and they're our threats. You know, I sit down and do the same thing with Round County that we're playing this week. They've got a couple of guys that's going to get the football. And everybody else that you look at, and especially in this region, you know, once you get to some of the bigger schools out of this region, they might have more than one or two playmakers. But for right now, that's where we're at.
Sure, makes sense. Okay, going off the football field a little bit. You a baseball fan at all?
It's a little slow of a game for me.
I got you.
I can watch it some, but
you have a World Series prediction? Have you kept up with it?
Well, I haven't a lot. I don't even know if the Reds. I would say the Reds. But
we're not 1975.
Exactly. I'm thinking of the Reds when I was growing up. Where's Johnny Bench and Pete Rose when you need him? Which I'm saying that to most of these kids that's watching this thing. Who's Johnny Bench and Pete Rose? But that's about the extent of my baseball. I seen Pete Rose do an interview the other day, and he's talking about his grandson, and he said that he made the statement that right now baseball's a little slow for him.
Yeah.
Because kids are, you know, they want it to go. They want 20 seconds before play and that kind of stuff. He said he's going to be a good one, but that's about the way I am. I think I'm reverting back to my childhood. It's a little slow for me.
I hope you're right. I hope the Reds win it.
Yeah, well, I didn't make that prediction. Don't hold me on that one.
Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
Joining us now on HTPT here at Boyd County High School is Tanner Edmonds. And you guys are on fall break this week, Tanner. What's that like? You getting a decent little break? I know you guys are still practicing.
Yes, sir. We get up at 9 and sometimes 3:30 and just get us moving. Don't want us to be too lazy.
Get to sleep in a little bit, though,
Yeah.
don't you? There you go. Coming off of a pretty close matchup there with Ashland. Kept it respectable there for really the whole game. They ended up winning by 3 touchdowns. It's just been kind of a gauntlet for you guys. 3 weeks in a row with tough schedule. You know, you had Russell and Johnson Central and Ashland now. What's those 3 weeks been like, and what have you kind of learned about the team?
Well, I know that we've learned that we know how to fight, and sometimes we just got to pick it up and work through practice as hard as we can, and just work and just be ready. Just get ready to practice and work hard.
You're in your 3rd year starting now, but you've been at several different positions. You're a quarterback, obviously, this year in free safety. What do you like the best? Do you like this the best your senior year?
Yeah, I like this the best. I like being able to control the team and just put effort out there, and I like being on defense too. Also, I like to hit.
Yeah, and last year was a big hit against Rowan County that ended up sealing the win for you guys. You guys won 25-20 against Rowan County. It was an important win for you guys. It went a long way in the district. And of course, you know, you provided that hit that caused a fumble. Can you kind of, you know, do you think about that play every so often? It seems like you have that propensity to make a big play.
Yeah. I seen him coming off the outside, and I just played my keys.
And that's happened several times. You made a big play in several different games. Can you pick out 1 or 2 highlights so far?
Kind of cutting back across the field against Lewis County, and I don't know really.
Well, you've kind of been that dual threat so far this season with 595 yards on the ground and then 237 through the air. And you have Christian Brawley kind of back there as kind of completes that tandem in the backfield. He's got 595 total yards. So what's it like playing alongside Christian?
I love playing alongside Christian. He's there and he knows when to pick up blocks, and he's a physical player. He knows to keep his feet going.
Yeah, physicality, it shows through on the wrestling mat as well for him.
Yes.
So Tanner, what about the NFL? You follow the NFL? You play any fantasy football?
No.
No fantasy. You have a favorite team?
No, not really. I'm mostly in college, but I watch games here and there.
Okay. Who you follow in college?
Oregon.
Oregon. What do you like about the Ducks?
Just most I like is their jerseys. Those are nice jerseys.
They keep it fresh. They change it up about every week, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, it's October now. Are you a haunted house guy?
Sometimes.
What's the best one you've been to?
Paulsburg.
What's so scary about that? I've heard some good things about it. I got to check it out.
There's people jumping out everywhere.
Are you going this year?
Yeah.
All right. Tanner, we're going to switch out here, and Taylor Campbell's going to come in. Thanks a lot. All right. Taylor Campbell, better known as TC here around Boyd County, joins us on HTPT. Third-year starter on both sides of the line, right?
So,
Taylor, what have you learned throughout your career here being at Boyd County about being an efficient and effective offensive and defensive lineman?
well, I just learned that when you come out and play, every year you can feel the intensity. I mean, everybody wants to come out and do big things, and I like when you come out in the beginning of the year and everybody's got that intensity, and you got guys in the weight room moving around doing big things for us, and then you come out and practice and you just see it all fall together, and sometimes cards literally do where they.
You know, Coach Gillum at the beginning of the year was talking about how he wanted, that effort and competitive fire to the last second of every game. Do you guys think you have fulfilled that?
Yeah, I think what really reflected it the most is Ashland. I know a lot of people thought Anthony was going to come in and blow us out, and it was raining, obviously. That obviously caused some turnovers, and we just tried to execute. And I think we really showed how intense we can be, how powerful we really can be in the field, and how much we can make plays.
It's been a challenging part of the schedule, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You guys played Johnson Central and Ashland, of course, Russell. Speaking of the district, Johnson Central and Ashland, what do you think about as far as, what jumps out about each team? How do you think they might match up?
I know Ashland, they got a lot of speed on their line. That's going to help them a little bit, but Johnson Central, they're pretty big and strong. Other guys move pretty well too, so I think it's going to be pretty even across the board.
Yeah. What about you guys going forward? Obviously a big matchup with Rowan County. Playoff opportunity still on the horizon for you guys. We want to keep that streak going, I'm sure. So, what do you think about this team going forward? What do you think you can accomplish?
I think that if we play like we should, everybody does their job, everybody plays physical and hard to the end, I think we can, because last year they had us and then we came out and played. And I think if we do the same this year, we can come out on top again.
Some people have talked about, well, do you really want a playoff game when you have to go to Highlands? Of course, Highlands is not in the picture anymore. You guys will probably end up playing, maybe Scott or somebody like that. So, what do you think as far as, would you rather be in the playoffs and just, happy to be there, or are you guys even intimidated at all by the opponent in the playoffs, or are you just glad to be there?
I just show up to play. I go there to have fun, and if we win, we win. That's always the best outcome that you can possibly hope for.
How's the mentality of this program kind of improved over the past few seasons?
Mentality's gotten a lot better. You can always tell when the district play comes up. You can feel the intensity at practice, and I think we had 2 or 3 fights. I mean, I loved it. It was great to have people getting into it like that, because that just shows how intense they're being at practice and how physical they want to play. That just leads into Friday night.
I looked up Taylor Campbell on Twitter. I was trying to tag you in the preview tweet I had, and the first guy I found was like this British power lifter. You had some powerlifting in you?
I don't know about that.
What about a British accent?
I kind of would like to have one eventually. That'd be pretty cool.
What about nicknames? You had TC. Is there any other nicknames in the locker room?
Yeah, we always we got Tanner Evans, we call him Tedmans. We got a guy named Noah, we call him Nursty. Just a bunch of nicknames that everybody kind of knows and kind of goes by.
It's that typical football locker room lingo.
Yeah.
What about the future for you? What are you planning on? Do you want to go to college? What do you think?
I'm going to see how it goes my senior year. I got a few colleges talking to me and stuff, and I'm just going to see how they feel about it and how I feel about going and playing.
Do you know what you might study in the future?
Yeah, I'm going to be a major in nursing.
Nursing, okay. All right, Taylor, thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you.
HTPTs, 2 for the road. I'll go first, Zach.
All right.
I want to talk about the Bengals coordinators. 2 guys that had to take over for a couple of fellas who had some great success and have gone on to head coaching stints at different places. Mike Zimmer and Jay Gruden are gone, and in their places now are Paul Gunther and Hugh Jackson. And they've done a tremendous job. I think, with the Bengals, you look at the overall experience, you look at the talent on offense, you look at Dalton's numbers so far. There are a lot of different things and a lot of different reasons why they are 4-0. But I feel like these 2 guys deserve credit. Gunther's a 43-year-old, and he's been on the Bengals staff for 11 years. He's not afraid to. I tell you what, these 2 guys have. They have confidence and they have swagger, but they don't have egos. And that's what I like about them. They're not really out to get Marvin Lewis's job or anything. Their duties, they know what they are, and they do them really well. Gunther is not afraid to call out the guy's fortitude or inner fire. I mean, he will question the big guys up front even. Last year he called Geno Atkins just a guy out there because Atkins didn't perform up to the level that Gunther thought he could. So far Atkins has played very well again this year. I think he has 3 sacks so far. Jackson, he's a 50-year-old guy. He has experience, and he's in his fourth stint now as an offensive coordinator of an NFL team. But he's another guy that doesn't have an ego either. He said that he's glad that Andy Dalton's waving him off every now and then because he has the confidence in his quarterback. And he has just had some tremendous play calls, I think, this year. They've mixed it up very well. So Hugh Jackson and Paul Gunther deserve as much credit as anybody for the Bengals' successes so far.
No question. Well, we talked a little bit about getting into postseason play for some of the other sports that we cover in the area, and soccer coming up, and golf has started, and cross country right around the corner. One that I'm kind of excited about a little bit is volleyball. I think the first time in a couple of years that there's been no prohibitive favorite in the region going into the region tournament, the district tournament. Raceland has been that the last couple of years. They're very strong again. They may be the front runner, depending on how their match comes out with Lewis County this week, which is Thursday this week. Either one of those teams could make some noise, certainly in the region tournament, but they'll have to get out of the district first. And again, the 63rd district is the best in the region. It's quite possible that its 4 teams, or maybe the top 4 also in the region, or certainly within the top 4 within the top 6 or 7. Went into watching Greenup County at Raceland earlier this week, and Greenup's 0-5 and then 0-6 after losing to Raceland this week, but they don't play like that. They've made progress. Coach Lindsay Thacker talked about how she sees them finally starting to play hard, not give up, and maybe an inkling of confidence, and kind of reminded me a little bit of Greenup County football, something Chris Mullins would have said a couple years ago. It's hard to get confidence if you're in this situation again and again and again. You don't quite get it done, but they're making progress. They're playing hard. They're getting better. And Greenup County will be a tough out. They'll be a 4 seed, but if you're a 1 seed, you don't feel comfortable, and certainly as a 2 seed, you don't feel comfortable playing against Russell either, the first round of the district. So I think Lewis or Raceland could win the region, or they could be bounced in the first round of the district. So it's very wide open in that district and in the region at large this week, and so kind of looking forward to seeing district play start within the next couple of weeks or so.
I think when it comes to volleyball, like several sports, I think it's the rule of 3. Obviously you can only hit it 3 times. You got to win 3 sets to win a match, and you have to have 3 quality capable players. And I think there are several teams in this area that have those 3 dependable pieces, and so that's what's going to make it very interesting.
It's like a lot of coaches talk about putting their puzzle together, and so it's a matter of getting those 3. Mentioning again Greenup, they've got the tools to be really good. They've not quite got their puzzle put together, but you can see them making progress.
All right, we are going to make progress by going on to Fairview next week. We're going to progress further into the season, and so join us next week from Westwood. We want to thank everybody at Boyd County once again for letting us come out here to Tom Scott Field. Coach John Gillum and TC Taylor Campbell and Tanner Edmonds for being on the show today. Wish them and Round County and the best and the rest of the area best of luck here on Friday night. It should be an eventful weekend. We're covering 6 games, so we got a full slate.
Look it up.
Thanks again to Chick-fil-A for being our ticker sponsor. And HTPT is always brought to you by Fannin Automotive Family. See you next week.